Hi, folks. James Spiro here. I'm coming at you now from Israel, reporting on the Israel-Iran war. I don't know about you folks, but I am absolutely exhausted. It was definitely one of those days where my coffee needed coffee. June 24th, 2025. It's been a very long day. Things have been changing a mile a minute, but for me, the day started just past 7 a.m. After Iran broke the ceasefire deal. So let's talk about that for a bit. President Trump announced that that they were making a ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran. Now, Israel conducted a few strikes a few hours before the ceasefire was expected to take place, 7 a.m. Israel time. The ceasefire took place. Iran almost immediately sent a barrage of missiles our way. Throughout the morning, we were in and out the bunkers here in the north of Israel, I think three or four times. Iran then claimed that the ceasefire actually started at 7:30 a.m., which would have been after the first barrage of missiles that did break the ceasefire. Um, but it turns out that it fell on deaf ears because they just carried on sending barrages. Um, Ben Gurion Airport, the main airport out of Israel, has been completely overwhelmed by all of this. Ramon Airport in the south is actually still quiet. There have been no flights in and out of there at all. It hasn't been part of any of the discussion, which is a little strange because you'd think that Israel would want to use as many airports as possible to help people come in and out. Unfortunately, since the start of Operation Safe Return, that's bringing back citizens who are stuck overseas. 75,000 Israelis have returned to Israel. Only 28,000 of them, so less than half, fewer than half of them, have come back via Ben Gurion Airport, but they are still not opening Ramon Airport in the south. Big news going on there. The airspace was, of course, closed after all of those strikes. Those strikes, unfortunately, resulted in 4 deaths in Be'er Sheva. The number of Israelis who died in the morning this morning during the broken ceasefire was for about numbers at the moment have about 20 people. I think it's a bit more than that by now. 20 people are hurt or suffering from acute anxiety. And they were searching room for room in the buildings themselves. So terrible, terrible things happening here in Israel. It was a very, very sad morning indeed, with news that the ceasefire was taking place, but then the ceasefire was broken. It resulted in the tragic death of innocent Israeli civilians, and just overall bad news here. Um, Going on to the economy now, seeing how this has been responding to all of the news here. After the announcement, the dollar weakened against the shekel. It traded at about 3.42 shekels for the dollar, and the euro fell below 4 shekels and traded at about 3.96. Now, as of recording right now, the dollar is at about 3.4 shekels to the dollar. So it's getting stronger and stronger. It's very, very strange. It snapped a 3-day streak of gains, which goes to show that despite war, despite ceasefires or lack thereof, there is still economic optimism and resilience in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. It is tremendous news for the overall optimism of the country, despite the terrible things that are currently taking place here because of Iran. Other economic news right now. Israel is poised to breach the deficit cap once again, as the war and defense costs continue to mount. So the budget deficit in 2025 could surpass as much as 6% of GDP, which is significantly higher than the 4.9% ceiling that was previously set by the government. So I'll say that again. The government sets a 4.9% ceiling for budget deficits, and this year it could surpass as much as 6%. So it's going to be the third consecutive year now that the Israeli government is expected to exceed its own deficit ceiling. So we may not feel that right away right now, but definitely in the kind of months or years ahead, I think Israeli citizens are in for quite an expensive and economically burdensome time. Now, anyone who was online today has seen the constant back and forth between Netanyahu and Trump and Iran and everything that's going on. Um, how it broke down was this: is that Israel promised Iran that if it broke the ceasefire agreement, that it would retaliate strongly, and Defense Minister Israel Katz had every intention of fulfilling that threat. Now, as far as I understand it, as far as we understand it here, Jerusalem had permission from the American government to enact such a retaliation. However, that permission wasn't granted by President Trump himself. So when Trump found out about the retaliation, he was immediately against it and called for the jets to come back into Israel. So even though Katz had instructed the IDF to respond forcefully, Trump wasn't having any of it. He called them back, and Israel did a symbolic attack in Tehran. Um, Obviously, Trump had some strong words to say about both Iran and Israel. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Um, he made the comment live on air as talking to the press. Trump's critics will call him vulgar and inappropriate. Trump fans will say that that's amazing and exactly why they voted for him. Either way, it's very clear to see that Trump is getting quite frustrated with the actions of Israel and Iran, and they do not seem to be ending their conflict anytime soon. Here on the ground in Israel, public transportation companies are furious about the reduction of activity. Now, since about June 13, so about 11 days now, 12 days, throughout the whole duration of the war, the Israeli public transportation has been operating at a far reduced level. So trains and planes, sorry, not trains and planes, trains and buses are running a lot more of a reduced area, and it's causing huge amounts of problems to everyone. And there are concerns. Committee Chairman Bitan said that there are concerns with salaries and compensation plans that need to be put in place for these companies. Trump, as we mentioned, Trump warned to bring all the pilots home. So Israel attacked a small radar, and it did not do it did not have the impact that Israel was hoping for in its strong response to the Iran breaking of the ceasefire. However, the Prime Minister's office later today did release a statement saying, clarifying some of the communication with President Trump that took place all throughout this day, the constant back and forth that we were all seeing. It says that during a phone call that took place between Trump and Bibi, Israel refrained from carrying out additional strikes, and during the conversation, President Trump conveyed his deep appreciation for Israel, which he said had accomplished all of the war's objectives. The president also expressed confidence in the stability of the ceasefire, according to the Prime Minister's office. So, oh, there we have it. Plenty of news here. It was a very, very stressful day. It was quite a sad day here in Israel. We saw the start of the day with plenty of sirens and shocks, constant back and forth. Expenses are rising up. Lives are being disrupted time and time again, and it seems like no one knows what's going on. But I am fairly optimistic in a quiet night tonight. We'll see what happens, and we'll be back again tomorrow sharing updates. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.